Out of all the different phones I've ordered, I'm really excited and worried at the same time about the iPhone 17 Air. And in this video, I want to share those thoughts that are kind of going on in my mind and also thoughts that I've picked up from your comments on different videos. The first thing I want to address is battery life, simply because when you have a device this thin, it's as thin as my Galaxy Z Fold 7, which is as thin as two camera memory cards, so two SD cards. That is pretty wild. You see, what I'm curious about is the internals, because this iPhone 16e has the C1 chip. They upgraded that to the C1X. And one thing I've mentioned here is the fact that this is a really efficient phone, especially compared to devices like the 16 Pro I tested when you are on the move. Because even though the C1 chip is not compatible with 5G millimeter wave speeds and stuff, right? It still is reliable. I went to Japan with this, I've been around in the USA with this, and many places I have not had any issue whatsoever. Now in the iPhone Air, you give it the C1X chip. That's a step above. Again, it doesn't have 5G millimeter wave capabilities, but still, it should be a much more efficient chip. Combine that with the N1 chip, which is responsible for things like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, AirDrop, personal hotspot. That is going to be even more efficient on the iPhone Air. And then, if that's not enough, you also have the A19 Pro chip. And lastly, you have software which is going to give you that adaptive power mode. And one thing I mentioned with the iPhone 16e on my iOS 26 video is the fact that adaptive power took my great iPhone 16e battery life to a whole different level. Another reason these internals matter on the iPhone Air, what is one thing that is detrimental to battery life when you're out and about, especially when you're using things like your personal hotspot, right? It's heat. When you're out and about and you're using that cell phone modem in your phone, that's when your phone tends to get hotter. Because the C1 runs so efficient, the C1X should be more efficient. Then you combine that with the N1, the A19 Pro. It should all make for more efficiency, therefore not degrading your battery throughout the day. That's why I'm honestly not really concerned about battery life. Now, another worry is the camera. A lot of people are bringing this up, but here's why you shouldn't be worried, because I have the 16e, which has a single camera. It's very similar, even though the iPhone Air is a step up from this, but the camera is very similar. One advantage you get on the iPhone Air is you're going to have sensor shift stabilization, which we saw in the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And then it continued on in other models as well. So this is going to give you good stabilization. As far as photos are concerned, let me tell you something. These two photos I just put up, I just took them just the other day, walking around. Nothing special. I just thought about the photo for a second and I did what we usually are doing with our phones. We pull out the camera, get in position, take the photo, and move on with our day. That's what we mostly do. Now, even though the camera is going to be better than the 16e, but just based off of the experience I've had with this camera, I can say that for me personally, not having an ultra wide is not a big deal. If it is for you, then yes, that is a worry that you're going to have with the camera and you would want to look elsewhere. And if you want to look elsewhere, I have a video on the iPhone 17, which is an amazing deal this year, really, because I mean, there's just so much packed in at that base model price. But I'll link down below the 17 video and the Pro model video so you can just kind of jump between them and see which one is going to be right for you. Another worry I see in the comments is about the lack of a stereo speaker on the iPhone Air. And personally, like, I don't listen to the speaker of my iPhone, so I am always using headphones. This doesn't really matter to me. But if you're trying to judge, like, okay, do I go for the mono speaker or do I go for the lighter form factor and all of that good stuff, right? I would say the form factor would be something that you really have to love in order to make that sacrifice. With every device you buy, whether it's a Pro one, for example, you go to a Pro model, it's heavier, it's thicker, simply because it's packing more. You're always going to have to make some kind of trade-off. So this is one of those things. Is the form factor a worth it enough trade-off to let go of one speaker? And how much do you use the speaker on your phone compared to just relying on headphones? Now, another thing that makes the iPhone Air a little bit of a difficult decision is the fact that it's priced just $100 cheaper than the 17 Pro. Yes, you have like all the different Pro features, right? Like you've got a lot of things like borrowed from the Pro line, whether it's the display, that front camera. The rear camera is pretty good. You've got good battery life. You've got a lot of efficiency, a lot of new chips, right? So there's a lot going for this, but then it's just $100 cheaper. But then again, it's so different too, because if you compare the form factor, it's like, do you go for the lighter phone in the Air, or do you go for the hefty Pro model, which has all the bells and whistles that you could want? So that makes it a little bit tricky, but I think what you got to think about is full circle and whether or not like this form factor, like what is relevant to you. Find that thing that stands out to you. Is size and weight the priority? Is a really good camera the priority? Whatever the priority is, that'll allow you to pivot into the right direction. Like I said, watch the other videos, and that will really give you a good, sensible idea as to what is the most sensible iPhone for you this year. Now, a couple of different things that I do want to point out that are different about the iPhone Air compared to the other models. One is going to be your USB-C port. This has USB-C 2. So what that means is that if you are doing a lot of data transfers between your phone and your camera and you're a professional and you rely on higher speeds, unfortunately, it does not have USB-C 3 speeds. Now, another notable thing is MagSafe charging, and whether that matters or may not matter to you, personally, I don't care. It's going to be 20 watts as opposed to 25 watts in the other phones. And that's just simply because of the size and form factor of the iPhone Air. It doesn't matter to me. On the iPhone 16e, I get pretty slow speeds already, so I'm not really concerned about that. But if that matters to you, I wanted you to know. The iPhone Air is really intriguing. I am really looking forward to actually getting this device and then sharing my final thoughts with you. But until then, I'm just excited to see whether or not this phone is actually going to live up to being a good device, because that's what's most important. And hopefully what's important here in this video is that you enjoyed this and got some value out of it. And if you did, all I ask is you give me a thumbs up so more people can find this video. Comment down below, because your comments help fuel video ideas for me in the future. And most importantly, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.